Hey, Cowgirl, it's Mōriah. Check out my mic'd up session with the lovely Melissa.
All right. Well, our article. Have you read the article, first of all?
Yes. And
Okay.
I was like,
You described your song like Sombrero and Hasta Mañana. Can you share with me the story behind one of those songs and just what it means to you personally?
if you've seen the image, I'm standing there with a big sombrero de charro on my head, and there's a charro behind me jumping through his lasso on top of his horse. None of that is photoshopped. None of that is AI. That was all very much happening. Bo was shooting on film too, so it had to be just the perfect moment, and he captured it beautifully. And that song, I actually just did my first TED Talk here in Nashville, and I sung that song with some mariachis, and I got to share a little bit about it. And something that I shared with my TED Talk Nashville audience and something that I'll share with you is that a sombrero to me is a symbol of protection and covering. And when my grandmother passed, I inherited two things from her. One was her ring, which I wear all the time, and then the other was her sombrero. So I wear her sombrero a lot. I wear it for shows, I wear it for shoots, and she just wore it out on her ranch in the desert in her double wide trailer and just like doing work and watering her plants as best she could in such a dry environment. Every time I put it on, I feel like I am so comforted, and I have her spirit with me. And in the moments where I do something scary, which I mentioned that TED Talk because that was probably the scariest thing I've done just as an artist. But when I put on her sombrero, like kind of halfway through my talk and incorporated it into it, I felt more confident. I felt like, you know what, if she did all the things that she did as a woman who came to this country not knowing the language and starting from scratch, I don't have any excuses.
I love that. I am so sentimental with things that like my grandparents or parents have given me, and they just
Mm.
bring such a comfort and I don't know, guidance to things that you do. So I love that.
We're sentimental people.
Yes, we are. Well, you also mentioned that your grandfather's trumpet was handed down to you, and you are the only one who's continued on in this music industry. How does your family history continue to show up in your music? You brought up your sombrero and the trumpet. Is there any other correlations that you bring and tie into your music?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I feel like it's kind of it takes more effort to separate my heritage from my art than it does to just naturally let it be. And I've done both. I've definitely, as an artist, I had a season where I was making art and music that my family, I was not thinking of my family. And quite honestly, it was a season of being very lonely and, living in Nashville by myself and just trying to find my place. And now I think I've certainly gotten to the point as a creative where I want to do and I desire to do the thing that is most natural. And doing music that incorporates my family and my heritage is the most like effortless, fun, natural thing. It's bittersweet. It's sad to me, slightly embarrassing that, I'm a decade into being an artist and this is the first time that I'm releasing music that my grandfather can understand. Sometimes it breaks my heart when I think about how long that took me to do. But, like all of us, we have to go on our journey. We have to try on different hats. We have to find out the things that we don't want to do and find out the things that we don't want to say before we land at the place where we're so happy with what we're doing and what we're saying. Yeah, from the music to the lyrics, my producer and I tracked a mariachi band out in El Paso, Texas, which is where most of my family still lives. And they came over from Juarez and they brought their instruments over the border, and we paid them in pesos and have incorporated all of their instrumentation into every song. And we've blended that with a very strong Nashville sound as well. So it's a really beautiful meeting of the two worlds.
I think there's so much power in finding what speaks to you and like where you come from when you step into that, it's like it opens doors that never would have opened before. And you have such a unique sound in your music and it's beautiful. Like your voice, it's gorgeous to listen to and to hear the heritage in it. It's unique. And I think people crave unique, honestly.
Not everybody sees it that way. So thank you for that.
You talk about carrying a duality as a Mexican American woman. And you kind of already answered this, but it shows up in your music, like we were just saying. But how do you hope that listeners will connect with it?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. You know, for me, it's just incredibly. It's about hospitality. It's about being hospitable. My grandmother, even though she didn't speak any English, every single one of my friends she adopted as her granddaughter or grandson. You know, my black friends, my Asian friends, my white friends. Like, I don't even think I had very many Mexican friends, honestly, and they were all just part of our family. So to me, my concerts, my music is the same thing. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter where you come from. Bring all of who you are. Don't change who you are. The history, the stories, the perspective, the food, the colors that come with all of you, and that is more than enough. And that is accepted and celebrated. And yeah, there's no exclusivity to what I'm doing. I've been seeing some really cool art being made in, you know, fashion and in music that is putting Mexican culture or cultura couture, you know, at the forefront. And that makes me happy. I mean, this is a come one, come all, you know, there's no RSVP needed. If you like music that makes you feel something, that makes you appreciate who you are and where you come from, then you're going to have a good time at my shows. You're going to have a good time listening to this record, and it might link you back to something that maybe you've forgotten about.
Well, now you're kind of stepping into a new role with acting a little bit. You're filming a Louis L'Amour Western up in Montana right now, and I've heard that you're doing your own writing and stunts and things. But how has that experience with the writing and the stunts and the acting stretched you as an artist?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I have been having a blast. Like, this film is going to be so special to watch back and to share with people. Louis L'Amour created a whole world that so many people have been impacted by, and he really captured that Western cowboy lifestyle that was done in such an authentic way, you know, and it was through novels. You know, he really captured the characters and the story and the narrative and the heart to that culture. And so for me, being able to be a part of this film, which is called Flint, and it's starring Josh Holloway from Lost, I feel, one, honored, and two, I wanted to be completely immersed in the story. So when I showed up for cowboy camp, which is just a fun phrase for meeting up with the Wranglers each day and practicing stunts, and my character, I won't give away what happens fully with her character, but she does get injured. And so I had to really prep for that. And the funny thing was, when we started shooting my scene where I got injured and there was a bullet involved, I was in the scene with one of the actors from Yellowstone. His name's Forey J. Smith, and he's very familiar with stunt work. And so I was wearing a long kind of pioneer looking dress, and he was like, "Mōriah, where's your knee pads?" Because he knew I was gonna fall on like the like rocky like dirt ground. And I was like, "Forey, I don't need no knee pads. Why are you asking me if I have knee pads? I'm gonna fall on the ground. Like, I'm getting shot." And he was like, "You can't fall on the ground without knee pads. You're gonna hurt yourself." And he was so stressed. All the while I had knee pads on under my dress. And he was so upset that he went to the director and he was like, "She's trying to fall on the ground without knee pads. You gotta get her some knee pads." And I kind of give a wink to my director. I was like, and he was like, "You know, Forey, she wants to do the stunt. We got to let her do the stunt." So Forey was very stressed during this scene, and I fell probably 8 to 10 times. My knees were great. My whole side is bruised, but my knees are protected. But poor Forey, I probably gave him a little heart attack.
That's adorable.
But he did. I feel like it gave me a lot of street cred with him, because he was like, "Okay, but she's also doing her own stunts and she's not using knee pads."
She's kind of a baddie. Okay. What is next for you, musically or creatively, acting, whatever it is? What's coming up for you that you're excited about?
So many things. I think the thing I'm most thrilled about is October. I am releasing my EP, Nice Life. And I am putting out a short film with it that I directed and am currently editing. I have had so much support from my team, from my DP, from my first AD, who was actually my husband, who was kind enough to come and assistant direct me. And it was such a wonderful experience. We captured visuals in El Paso with my family, with my grandfather, with my cousins and my aunts and my uncles. And we get to tell this story that really sheds a light on what I think is so easily missed, you know, in the world of high production, high fashion. You know, it's like we're always looking to do the biggest and the best thing, but I don't want to miss the beauty that exists in the simple things, you know, in my grandma's trailer, an acre of dirt out in the middle of nowhere on the borderlands of Texas with no running water. You know, there's just such beauty to that simplicity and to that starkness. And that's what nice life is about. It's about coming back to just the things that ground us, whether it be our family, our horses, our livestock, our friends, the quiet. In a world of a lot of noise, sometimes the nicest life is the simplest one.